Okay. I got all these DoD certificates. I'm a civilian, so I'm gonna go and install these certificates. I installed the first two here, so I'm installing the next one, current user, next, automatically, and they're successfully installing and everything. This is for certificates PKCS7 underscore version 5 underscore 15 WCF underscore DERPK CS number 7 certificate. So, been kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know what these certificates do even a little bit, but I'm sure they do something. I mean, the import was successful. So, I mean, what else would you do with the certificate if this one is 2024 to 2025, and it installs and everything. Let's see. This one installs. Yeah, I mean, there's certain certificates I just won't install, but I mean, like I wouldn't be able to. Let's see if I can just open all. Oh, all of them do open. Okay, so let's see. Current, install, next, finish. Okay, import was successful. Okay, did I install all of them? I don't know if I installed all of them just then. That's a very good question. But I mean, these were the certificates I could, install this one right here to see if it installed all of them. Yeah, I think it would just duplicate the certificate if it was installed. So if I installed this one, let's try it again. Like, let's see. Alt task. No, I can't do that. So if I press enter, let's see, it's frozen. Let's see if I press enter on my keyboard here. Let's see. This pops up. It says DoD signing California or CA4 DoD WCF intermediate K1. I mean, it doesn't actually say all of the certificates. So it looks like just that one right there, number 4. And that's the number 4. Okay, so hit install. I guess it doesn't do anything. I would have to go through all of them and then simultaneously install them, I guess. I don't know why they would do something like this. I mean, this is like a PKS file, basically, a PKCS file. I mean, there's not really much of a difference between PKS and PKCS. It's just more security. But, I mean, these are the security certificates that you can install. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to install them in a workstation computer. I mean, that generally wouldn't make any sense if you wouldn't install them on a workspace computer, because all of the tech would be work for workspace computers, nothing else. I mean, there's the instance of like, like your circuitry or like your, what is it called? Your processor for your computer. It would need a certificate installed to run, and that works with like, I think some sort of compass or GPS signal, but I don't know. I don't really get into it, but just install these certificates. See how it goes. Installing this one right here, and then install it. Finish. Okay, and it installs just fine. So I can go on, close this up. Let's see. I can install these certificates here. I think these are the only ones. Yeah, these PEM files, they don't open. This README file in TXT, I thought it was kind of strange. So the files are for files that contain certificates in this bundle. Follow the pattern, and then it shows the encoding files, bundle version, group, subgroup information, encoding, file type extension. So I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you can install like different structured files. I'm sure the payloads are like for open source, like, so there's no reason, but it's the same question. There's the SHA 256 and you can't open this file, so that'd be kind of confusing for anyone who needed to join a group or bundle any version. I don't see why you wouldn't need to do any of those things. It doesn't really make too much sense. Their website didn't have any information on opening a 256 file. I mean, that's right here, SHA-256 file. You don't just open those files without a permission like packet, basically, like a certificate. So, I mean, it shows you how to install these certificates. Oh, so you can install it on Linux. You can install it on Mac OS. Oh, here it is right here. You can install it this way. Interesting. Generate local hash, certificate ut, hash file, file name, SHA-56 of that one. This is written poorly. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. Would you think this would open a group file like for sharing system information? It would. I mean, OpenSSL is pretty hackable, from what I know. I mean, all the pen test tools, hacking, kits, can open OpenSSL file. So I'm not entirely sure. A hash file doesn't look resourceful either, and especially SHA-256. I mean, that's another good question of why this packet wouldn't open. I mean, with a PEM file, I mean, it would have a pre-registered install for root, KCA root. I mean, it would just open these files, and especially OpenSSL, that would be pre-installed with any packet-driven intelligence program. So I think it's questionable. I mean, it looks questionable. Like a local root file, a local file in the computer, would all have that information in it. So that looks suspicious. Let's see. I mean, you could, install certificate could be, conjoined, so it'd be an SG file that is, using a hacked signature, and then the administrator is deleting the administration file, which is the P1 file, and that works for a lot of systems. It's not even in question if it works for a lot of systems. I think that a lot of programmers don't understand that concept of a P1 file. It's not really used, not really talked about. It's just in the system, people don't understand it. But yeah, I'm not going to get into what a P1 file is. But it's kind of these are the certificates. I mean, I could open up the other certificate tool, and it didn't really. That one has an application to it, so you can install the certificates right from here. These are maybe test certificates. That's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, what would you need to test for? 1GS signal? That's for something like GPS or navigation or shutting down your system, basically. I don't know any you could use it for a mile tracker. I mean, that equipment would be used for system administration for something vague or something open. But I mean, IoT has a lot more applications to it than something you would need a certificate for. So I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you could do this, but I mean, all these certificates, all they do is fix an issue from the 1990s that works with I think a file path. It might have been considered a virus, but it was I think it was called Dogpile. But let's see. So this is the one I installed earlier. It's InstallRoot, and the program also comes with a uninstaller, so you can uninstall the files through this root file here, and then this is what you'll get. So I'll hit install anyways, and it'll come up here. So I could check the system to see what I want. So I'll type in list all the certificates. I checked already, and I didn't have any certificates installed. So this is what I listed. It says you were about to install a certificate from the certification authority claiming to represent DoD California 2. I thought I installed this, but I didn't obviously install it. So I'm gonna hit yes. I didn't hit yes yesterday. So administration privileges are needed to add or remove some of the certificates on your system. Please return with these credentials. Okay, so already exists, access denied for local launch disallowed store. That doesn't look good. Let's see. Access denied for local machine disallowed store. Let's see. Okay, I mean, so that's pretty basic. So hit enter, continue, it just doesn't do anything. So I go back into this program here, install root. Maybe I have it in my computer already. Let's see. Yes. Finish. Let's see if I have it in my computer. Install root. Okay, yeah, right here. Install root 5.6. So it's loading here. I have it. It's going. Let's see. Install root 5.6 is loading at 82%. Okay. Let's see. I mean, this was a pretty slow program to load in the first place. This is what I'm getting here. Oh, here we go. It started up. It shows the installed certificates here. I previously installed all the certificates on this computer because it is, again, a workspace computer. Microsoft OS 11 Workspace Pro. I'm not sure if there's a difference, but this is what I have installed. So it has the multi-NSS certificate, has the multi-Java certificates, and has Microsoft current user certificates, whatever that means. And God earth, they didn't update the system. But installed JITCS certificates are apparently for testing purposes only, so I'm not entirely sure what on earth that means, but that's what it says, basically. And this is all DoD certificates. I'm not entirely sure why this is running this way. I mean, I could look into the NSA app, it won't do anything either. But see, these are all the certificates you can install here. And I mean, yeah, it looks like the certificates have a pen testing issue right here. So I mean, it's like a P21 or a P1 is they share the same circuit. So I mean, it wouldn't be necessary to do this if they knew how to cross a system path, which is in something like C programming to C# or C++. And again, I don't have to explain it. If you didn't know how to do that, you wouldn't know how to do it. It could be simple, it could be not simple, but it's not something you need to put your hands on if you knew what to do. But I mean, with the certificates and installing these certificates, these roots, they look like they're kind of vague. They don't have a real pretentious name or anything, and they last a certain amount of time. So I mean, would you need a certificate ID number or anything like that? I mean, technically it could be because of cryptocurrency, because I mean, it's so vague, and then it just has these random transaction numbers that easily could be hacked. Especially with all these systems like Java. It looks like they just updated the system. All these Java scripts are run on total time local systems, so it's just counterpart is doing this. So it's like an ABC protocol. This is pretty basic. I mean, it doesn't really do much, and it doesn't even have majority of the information in these certificates, like 6.3, 6.3, 6.4, 6.4, 6.5, 6.5, California 70. I mean, it's CA 70. It doesn't really do anything. If it repeats, it doesn't really fill in the gaps. They have to get the gist of this program. In programming, you have the idea of logos, so you have to really develop that sense of what matters in the certificate. You have to map it out. What would happen in certain situations if you installed something, put a hash root. And again, what are these certificates for besides communication? I don't think there's anything else. There's a good question of what if you put material in a computer that didn't belong in a computer, or a certificate overheated your computer or did something suspicious, it would be a time bomb or a logic bomb, something built from information systems to hack a computer or control a computer remotely, maliciously. So I mean, this is what you get. I mean, issuer DoD root, again, that doesn't say a name or anything. You can get certificates for those things, but I mean, you're not a facility. I mean, what kind of facility would be a person and a person be a facility? I mean, the rare example of this would be you're working outflow for electrical grids, working with circuits for energy, like solar panels or windmill power, or an instance of like nuclear power, and also like dam power and hydrogen power and gas power. I could see these things like working. I mean, I see gas power working like a little bit more fundamentally. With a program like this is it does look like it says OU PKI, OU DoD, OU.SU government CUS. But again, I mean, all these are central to conservation. So it's a C equals US. I mean, like, meaning like it's all protocols for a facility or subject to ceiling control. So it would mean like thermometer, basically. Temperature gauges, would you control a temperature gauge on a computer? I don't know any circuits that have built-in like temperature gauges in a computer. So it's a good question. Maybe they're illustrating the point that this computer can't run without that information, and then their circuit supplier is not illustrating the point that they can somehow supply that information to the U.S. government. But again, that's what I've seen in this. It's all output in Java. So, I mean, you got to think about like, who can output things in Java. I know DoD scripts some of their protocols in Java. They use ECI roots. They use Java Keystone, or Keystore. They probably don't. It's probably liability of the company. And all these are just, it's a subject I didn't trust, ECA SU 22. I don't really believe these are really what you might consider like a root certificate. I mean, this is not really necessary. Info is like a channel, basically, that works with like I/O circuits. So it's like anything that technically flows communication or direct point of communication. So that's like anything that collects information, like it's like a news outlet or like kind of subdomain news outlets that like just kind of, get the information, or websites. But I mean, it doesn't really say this. It says Sun Java. I mean, Sun Java could do this, but you can go through this and it can repeat itself. So, I mean, you just look and look and look and look. But, I mean, it's definitely skipping some necessary steps in the communication. And I would say this whole system is flawed of all these certificates I'm seeing right now. Yeah, I mean, it looks like an error again. I mean, it looks like when they managed like computer systems for cars and they started putting them online for people to use for the computers, it looks exactly like that. Like a PDS signal for like Dodge or Ford or something like that. As SW, I mean, what could that mean? Southwest, maybe? I mean, most likely Southwest, right? I mean, it's not slang. All these interpretations of like acronyms like pretty much mean like the same kind of principles of communication. So, I mean, you can look at it, WCF root. I mean, that's pretty vague, and that's easily hackable, and that's a cross root. So it's unrooted and rooted. So, it's a database. So, I mean, it feels like they're missing some like security points. With a security point, like with a system like for DoD, certificate, you would probably want it to, you run like something like National Geospatial Intelligence. Like it would run databases for something like cold and hard. And the instance of like a civilian using a computer would be like, looking at metal material and seeing like how it's like collusive to like work environment or something like that, something OSHA related. So I'm not seeing this. Again, it says 0. So, I mean, they don't have a platform to build an application on this computer to just certificates. So is it open source intelligence just to, I'm not sure what you would do with this. It's a CNDOD. Like, why would you have any of these certificates run on a proximity like computer? Like, why would you run like a date on a computer that is meant to be that secure, especially info? All these things just wouldn't make sense to a normal person on a computer. Like, and it says like things like OU equals PKI. That's like a repeatable pattern, and it could like admit like more than one integer. Would you want like the DoD like to get framed or run into a loop? I mean, which we consider like a linguistic, like a logic point in like time bombs, like a logic bomb. And I mean, like, how many imprints can you have on a computer at one time. You can have 2 million integers, but like how many can you just input? You could input a lot, like 7 million probably. But I mean, and again, this is skeptical on the point that the DoD has a running system that isn't hacked already. I mean, you could look at like the own certificates by like the authority of something like someone who's running the 86X like computer. Yeah, I mean, you could say run an 86 computer. What does that mean exactly? You could have input and output. But would you have like more than cold storage, like an SSD, or would you have something that is malicious? And you got to really think like what are you putting, like what extra band are you putting in a computer that doesn't like do anything? I call that like malicious. That's like the intent to like harm somebody like who's innocent. Like you would gather information illicitly. I don't really have to like put that in there, but again, like these are all the certificates. Some of them end early, some of them end late. It looks like an email basically with a bunch of key strings for no reason that are not rooted in anything. I mean, a WCF root that has to do with like cache registers and everything. WCF root, has that quality. Does it work in a dual purpose system? Does it work with user input? Does it work with 90% of the information that you can gather? It just soaks it in and it lets it out basically. WCF root is not a root. That's like a error. Like back in the day when it was WCF root C, and that was like when the administrator was like Chrome through Google. It works like with the same principle in mind. But they say they changed it, but they just changed some rules and principles with the program. So you can look at it has these names, GSSE. CA certs. I mean, does that look like a name to you? Not really. Java key store. And again, key store, all these look like, tamperable. All these roots look like they can be, instantly obtained or what is considered reloaded in application and updated IRB. I wouldn't say, it is, good. I mean, you could hit the H button on a computer and reload all the saved administration certificates. There's obviously like a system for this, easily hackable, easily taken advantage of. I would say probably simple output would be to, have a program run like instead of like a DoD certificate run like circuit processing, so you could find amps and volts, like entering and exiting computer, see what applications are running, one amp schedule, which one is manipulating the amps or volts. Because I mean, this is pretty much electricity when you get down to the core of it. And like if it's the DoD's job to like look at the certificates like you could install like as a civilian, maybe those are the certificates you're looking for, a program that would run something that you look at the volts and amps of a computer, not the ones that say, well, since I know this guy, he gets my software. How about like we keep it open source, this is a machine, a piece of electricity. So would you consider yourself like, a tech savvy guy, or like kind of like, I'm looking at a lot of stuff here, but like, what if it went away? What if my application, hacked me, I wouldn't really want any of that. It sounds pretty suspicious to me. I would want something that, doesn't do any of this. I'm not in the DoD, but, it's a good question of like, if the DoD wanted, me, what if they just started doing some stuff to me? What if a bad actor, came in from the DoD and try to, do something here? So, I mean, think like, like all the structure and strategy here, I don't know. I mean, could the computer certificate do something that's important here? Well, this one says interoperability for a current user. So, I mean, again, it's not really, I don't know. I wouldn't say like these are programs you need. DoD Durability, California, like what is that, like a freeway code, like to drill like into mountains and like, go into, mountains. I don't know what to say. It's like it's a never ending loop here. And again, like with all these SW DoD signals, and there's a lot of them issued here, and the ID ones as well. I mean, IDs are considered like found protocols, and then the SW one is kind of we call what is called an imprint. You wouldn't want to this many keys into an integer, or else it will just kind of fit the proximity. So it will reissue the issuer, and you don't even need to do it. This is all malicious attempt from an employee who put it in there. But this is all you can see. So basically, all of these segmented codes rewrite the code, the issuer, and then it becomes a blank root. And then the blank root, could, and I don't know much about CA3 and everything like that, but it will just rerun the whole store, and it leaves a blank space way to do a 0 day. So, again, and then with the durability, I mean, it could be a different thing. It could be atmosphere. It could be directory. I wouldn't say directory based. I would say like input system basic code would probably be programmed with that. But you can see all of these things basically, and I could go over this all day. I mean, there's flaws in these certificate roots and these all the time. I mean, this is from Mozilla Firefox. Why on earth would you want Mozilla Firefox opening a DoD certificate? That is insane. Would you trust, an issuer with like this many intermediate storages of like the same protocol? I mean, they're not all the same protocol, but they're all in the same, what's going to DSP. I mean, this program obviously doesn't know how to program, or is trying to act smart or something. You wouldn't use all of these verification paths right here. My system isn't smarter than that. CAPA path verification failed. Offline verification. Okay, so offline verification. Why would you need CAPI offline verification? Unless you're like interstate border patrol, that's the only way you would need that. And not in many instances. How many attempted offline verifications did you have? There's a lot of offline verifications, multi-NSS, multi-Java. Some of these are malicious. Some of these are actually malicious. So, I don't know. Maybe like the programmer has schizophrenia, and that's the whole thing. This one's a subject DoD. Like I'm getting a literal email from a DoD employee. Do I need to install a certificate from a random website to get a DoD email, California 63, as a trusted like interpreter even? Like if I'm interpreting this program, would I need that? I don't think so.